recording this in the Airbnb. Not sure how well this is gonna go. Hopefully I'm in frame. So hey, look, it's a guitar thing. You've probably seen a lot of ads recently for the Jammy, which is like a MIDI guitar thing. The Jammy is suspiciously similar to a product that came out about 10 years ago called the U-Rock guitar. That thing seemed way cooler than it actually was. And I suspect that the Jammy also seems really cool, but isn't. I bought a U-Rock guitar 10 years ago. I don't have it anymore. I wish I still did, because it was pretty cool. It just wasn't cool enough for me at the time, so I got rid of it. And I didn't know enough about music and chords and everything to make good use of it. I didn't know scales, you know. It was totally a waste on me. It was stupid. I shouldn't have bought one. But I did, and it had some issues, but it worked. The Jammy is out now. It has some issues, but it works. So why am I talking about the Jammy? Well, this is not a Jammy. This is a Rock Band 3 Pro controller for the Nintendo Wii. And it's a MIDI controller. I've got it plugged into MIDI right here. That's it. It cost me $30 because no one wants a Rock Band 3 Pro controller for the Nintendo Wii in 2020. It's just not a thing that people want. So I'm sure these won't be around forever, but if you can find one soon, probably cost you about $30. So yeah, so it's got 6 strings down here, and you can pluck them. And they just keep ringing out forever until you press a button that corresponds with the string. Right. Anyway, yeah, you can play this thing. If you make mistakes, you're gonna just hear stuff ringing out. Got it. Oh yeah, you can't do hammer-ons. I think. I don't think there's a way. Oh, what? Well, apparently these buttons select patches. I didn't even know that. So this button right here is your octave down. Octave up here. Yeah, I guess these ones do patches. Very cool. This button, I don't know what that one does, if anything. Doesn't seem to do anything. But this button starts flashing the light. Now you're in tapping mode. great. Can't beat that if you're a guitar player and you don't play keyboard, which I don't. Pretty weird to play this thing because you look down at it and you just have a bunch of gray buttons. You don't have very prominent fret markers. You do have dots on the side, but they're not very helpful because this is like the opposite of what a real guitar looks like. Normally you have dark space and then lines, but on this it's like the lines are very small, empty spaces, and then the actual buttons are bright, you know, they're gray. They're like the color of the frets. So it's very strange to look at this and find your way around, but you know, once you know your shapes, orient yourself, you can make it work. Hey, if you're liking the video so far, I'd really appreciate it if you'd give me a like. I'm just getting started on YouTube and every little bit helps. Also, I'd love it if you'd subscribe to my channel, but only if you like this kind of content. If you have any thoughts to share, I'd really appreciate getting a comment from you, and any questions, I'll try to answer them. Thanks. I think a classical guitarist would probably have some more luck with this, you know, like, oh god, my cable. Just because of their technique, they're more like arched fingers. But I'm a lazy jazz player and I do a lot of this kind of a grip. And I tend to accidentally trigger the high string with that finger while I'm playing chords. I have not tested this out personally, but I believe that this little tiny jack is for a sustain pedal. I guess there might be a pedal that comes with the Rock Band drums, and maybe you can plug that into here, because I've never seen a sustain pedal with a tiny jack like that before. I'm actually thinking about modding this guitar, give it a real sustain pedal, build in a USB MIDI interface so I don't have to go through my audio interface. I think it could be pretty cool. I'm gonna probably make a video on that in the future. Oh right, so why am I playing in tapping mode? Turn it back onto normal picking mode. Playing on tapping mode because if you play while picking, did you hear that low rumble? I just hit the low E one by accident. I didn't pick it enough where it would be an issue on a real guitar, plus I would be muting the string, so if I bumped it slightly it wouldn't trigger, but these will trigger from just hitting them, like you don't actually have to pluck it. Especially that one's super sensitive. I think there's probably something that could be done with the actual sensors. I'm sure there's some way to dampen them, but then you might miss notes too. And the other thing, if you're not very precise about your left and right hand synchronization, you're going to end up missing some notes. If you pick slightly before pressing the note, then when you press the note, the I don't know what to call it, the fret button, the button, when you push the button, it's just going to mute everything. So if you're going like, but then you go, then you have no note, and that's a bummer. Oh yeah, so I'm trying to call this video like Jammy Killer or whatever. It's just funny to me. One of the key features of the Jammy is that it's portable, right? You can take it apart. The U-Rock guitar had the exact same feature, and guess what? This has it too. There's a little button on the back here. Neck pops right off. Oh yeah, also the headstock pops off. So if you really want to get portable, there you go. You can put that in your backpack just like the Jammy. It's just kind of silly. I mean, I want a Jammy, don't get me wrong, but it's going to have all these same issues that this thing has. It might be... I mean, I'm sure it's a better effort at this concept than this thing, because this is just a cheap game controller. But it's going to have most of the same issues. Now the Jammy also has pitch bending, it has like actual strings on here. That's pretty cool, I'm not going to lie. But if you expect to be able to play this or play the Jammy as a real instrument, you are going to be very, very disappointed in it when it misses your notes or triggers the wrong note. It's going to glitch and it's going to play a totally different note, and it's totally going to throw off your whole vibe. But if you just want it for entering MIDI into a computer, like this thing will do that. And it only costs you $30. I guess that's the big takeaway I'm trying to say here is act now. For a limited time only, you can buy these for very, very cheap, whereas the Jammy is going to cost you $300, $400, something like that. Also, this has 17 frets, and the Jammy only has 15. Right? I think it does. Maybe I'm wrong. But I'd rather have 17, personally. I'd rather have 24, but nobody's given me 24. What else can I say? On this thing, there's no way to retune it. So you can't do any like drop tunings or any open tunings. It's standard guitar tuning. You can shift the octave up and down. That's it. Hi, hope you don't mind if I butt in right here. While editing this, I just realized that you totally could change the tuning on this, because each string gets its own MIDI channel. So all you have to do is line up an array of MIDI plugins that will offset the notes on each of those channels by the desired amount. And there you go. You can totally change the tuning. It's just a little bit more involved than on the Jammy. So that's one feature the Jammy has that's definitely cool, is you can open up an app on your phone and just instantly, change it into a different tuning. What else? This thing takes 3 AA batteries, and the Jammy is rechargeable. So point to the Jammy. Alright, now I'm going to try to record a little song. Alright, in conclusion, I think I'm going to skip the Jammy, wait for something better to come out, and just play around with this. It seems to do the job just fine for basic synth parts, and I really don't see the need for all that fancy stuff. But, having said that, if anyone would like to send me a free Jammy to review in a brutally honest way, I would be stoked to receive it. And I look forward to a private message from you. Thank you. The other thing I want to say about this thing is the buttons can be kind of weird sometimes. Like they want to tilt really easily. I'll try to do a close-up here. You can see it tilting. But then if you press right in the middle, it feels weird because it kind of rocks back and forth. And it takes twice as much pressure to press it, because when you take this apart and look at it, there's two tiny rubber domes under each button, one on each side. So if you press one side, it's only pressing one of the rubber domes down. But if you press right in the middle, now you're pressing both, and it takes twice as much force. Now, it's not much force, like anyone can play that, but it's an inconsistent feel, and I don't like inconsistent feels. Maybe that's just me. It's probably not, though. I think most people feel that way. It's too cold to play this. Oh yeah, very, very important technical aspect of this. So the thing about this is it transmits MIDI on 6 different channels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that is fine for most things. And actually you might want that. I don't know. But a simple thing you can do is run it into your DAW with a MIDI plugin that can reroute all of those channels to channel 1 in case you have a synth that doesn't want to work with the MIDI like that. The synth I'm using is working correctly with it. Also, you may have noticed the velocity just there. Why is that one so much louder? It's because it uses the last played velocity on the string to play in tapping mode. It just goes with whichever velocity was the last one you used on that string. So that's annoying. You could just go through and pluck each one the same velocity so that you're just about even. Yeah, you could do that, except the velocity response on each of the strings is a little bit different. So even if you just strum all the way through them, it's going to be a different velocity on every string. What I like to do is just run this through a MIDI plugin. I'll show the screenshot of that. It's a MIDI plugin built into Reaper, and it allows me to do things, not only assign all the channels to one channel, but it will allow me to control the velocity. So what I put this at is velocity is 0. So basically whatever's coming out of the guitar is going to turn into 0. And then I have it set to a random velocity 100% of the time. 100% random. So I believe that means it'll go through the entire velocity range. But then I put the minimum and the maximum here. So it's never very quiet, but it's also never fully maxed out. And basically that just gives me a natural sounding variation within a range, a reasonable range. And the reason you'd want to route it to all to one channel is if you're recording MIDI and you're going to go back and edit it later, you're not going to want to have to deal with everything being on a different channel. That's going to get really annoying. So if you just route it all to one channel, then it's just going to make your editing easier, and it might work better with certain synths. I'm not sure. I think that's just about all there is to say about this thing. It'll work with a DAW if you have a USB MIDI interface, or you can just hook it up through your audio interface. That's what I'm doing right now. And yeah, $30. Worth it.